How you doing, everyone? Today I'm going to show y'all how to transform this image into something very dreamy and ethereal using Lightroom and Photoshop. So without further ado, I'm just going to get into it, all right? All right, starting in Lightroom, if you guys want to follow along or grab a similar photo, let's go ahead and get to work, all right? So step one is going to be the foundation, setting the foundation. First, we have to set a solid foundation. So looking at the image, it has a really good vibe to it. I'm loving the vibe, how she's looking up and everything. But we're going to enhance it even more. So we're going to go ahead and start by tweaking the basic settings just to bring out some more details. So firstly, it's going to be the exposure under light section. I'm going to increase the exposure slightly just to brighten the image overall. Say about 0.33, good. This just makes the subject stand out even more. But whilst I'm getting into that, later on I'm going to go through the masking and everything as well. But right now, this is just overall. So next is going to be contrast. I'll drop the contrast just a bit, just because it keeps the details, but while maintaining like a soft look. So we're going to drop that. If we drop it down too low, it's a little too soft. Honestly, it's not too bad, but we're not going to go crazy because, we all have that thing that we do where we just want to overdo stuff. So I'm gonna say -30 is good for me here with this contrast. Cool. Next, going to be the highlights and the shadows. I'm going to lower the highlights, bring down the harshness of the light. So let's go ahead and do that. So yeah, we're going to do another -30 here. For the shadows, I'm going to lift the shadows slightly just to reveal more details in her outfit and the surroundings as well. So let's go ahead and do a +20 on that. With the whites and the blacks, yeah, it's all really preference. Let's bring down the whites. It looks really good like this. In the blacks, we're gonna keep the blacks maybe like +5. Okay. All right, for step two, we're going to do dialing in the color. Let's get into color correction and start setting the mood. So with white balance, you can customize it to your own will. As shot, this is what it looks like as shot. But for me, I'm going to go ahead and bring down the temperature. It's a little too warm for me. So I want to bring down the temperature just to add that, ethereal feel to it. I'll adjust the temperature slightly towards the cooler side while keeping it warm enough to, preserve the evening ambiance. So let's go ahead and do that. Yeah. That right here. That's good for me. For the tint, I may change it. Let's see. I might go more towards the magenta. Yeah, I'm gonna say +30 on the magenta. For vibrance, instead of boosting the saturation, we can make things look really unnatural if we boost the saturation. So I'm going to increase the vibrance just because it, enhances the colors subtly without overpowering, So let's go ahead and do that. Let's increase the vibrance just a bit. Yeah. I'm really liking 30, I'm liking 30, but I might bring it down just a bit though. Let's say 15. Okay. Tone curve. For the tone curve, I'm gonna do that a slight S curve. It enhances the contrast in a more controlled way. It brings out the richness and the shadows and the highlight. So I like going to, I forget which this is called. Oh yeah, parametric curve. I like doing this one because it's a lot simpler. It tells you what you're doing. So highlights, we're gonna go up +5. Lights, we're gonna go -10. Darks, we're gonna go +10. And shadows, I'm gonna go -15. Boom. Let's see if we can see some before and afters of that. It's very subtle, but overall, it fits for me. Also, along with step two, dialing the color, we're going to go ahead and go with the HSL, and then we're going to go color grading, doing the split tones. So for the HSL, hue, saturation, luminance, we're going to go to the oranges. We're going to move it more towards the magenta side. We're going to increase the saturation just a bit, and then we're going to put up some luminance just so her skin can glow more. Let's look here. See, this is too much, so let's go ahead and go down to, let's say 15 of luminance. Also, we're really going to mess with the blues, her background, because there's more blues. We're going to put the hue more towards teal. Saturation, we're going to bring it down a bit. We don't want it to distract too much. And then luminance, we're going to just brighten just a tad. So here's the before and after of that. Looks really nice. Let's go to split tones. For the highlights, we're gonna go more warm, but we're gonna bring down the saturation on that to about 15, I say, or 14, whatever. And then we're gonna go to the shadows, and we're gonna give it that teal with that cool look. So let's go ahead and do that as well. We're gonna put this at 20. All right. Now we're looking good. So let's go before and after for the color grading. Yeah, I'm liking it. So yeah, so that completes the dialing the colors step number 2. Next, we're going to get into refining and masking the subject. All right, step 3, refining the masking. All right, so here is the masking tool down here in Lightroom. We're going to go ahead and create a new mask of the subject. Lightroom's AI really does well of capturing the subject. So let's go ahead and click this button here. As you see, it really is good at selecting subject. Only thing that's wrong is the feet here. It's not selected all the way. So what we're going to do is press the add button, add the put a brush, and then just brush her feet in. Something really simple. There you go. Nothing crazy. So now that she's all selected, we're going to go ahead and make some adjustments. So we're going to increase the exposure on her slightly just to make her stand out a bit more. And we're probably going to add some warmth to her skin just to keep the focus on her while contrasting nicely with the cooler background, you know. So let's go ahead and increase a bit. Yeah, so we're gonna do a 0.2 increase. Contrast, we're gonna probably increase it a bit. Let's go with 10. We're gonna go 10 contrast. Highlights. Her face is kind of getting overexposed, so we want to bring the highlights down just a bit. Say 15. Shadows, I'm not gonna mess with the shadows. Maybe let's see. Actually, it's not too bad. Let's bring it up to 10. Whites and blacks, I'm not gonna touch. We're good with that. Point curve, we're not gonna mess with that either. Saturation, you can if you want to. It'll kind of bring her out more because we're going to later on invert this selection and desaturate the background. But if you want to do this, you can go ahead and increase the saturation by a bit. My favorite number is 5 for this, but let's see here. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with 5. No, you know, I'll do 10. I'll do 10 saturation. And then everything else we can, oh yes, this is really important here. The clarity, dehaze, and texture. For her, we want her to be more clear, so we're going to increase the clarity and the texture by about 10. And we're going to dehaze for 5, or let's say 3. Yeah, this is good. So now that we have our subject masked out, we're going to go ahead and invert this so to get the background. So we're going to duplicate and invert mask. It selects all the background. That's good. So we're going to go ahead and do the opposite of what we did with the subject. So we're going to decrease the exposure. So let's say negative 0.2. That's really a good soft spot. 2 or 3. Let's do 2. Contrast. We're still going to increase the contrast by about 10. And then everything else we're not going to touch at all. So except for the saturation, we're going to go ahead and go negative 5 on the saturation, or maybe more. Let's do negative 10. For the clarity, texture, and the dehaze, we want to go ahead and do the opposite of what we did. So negative 10, and I'm going to say negative 5. All right, cool. I would get into more like linear gradients or radial. Actually, yeah, let's get into radial gradients. We want her head to glow, you know, we want it to be more ethereal. So we're going to go ahead and create a radial gradient across her face. Increase it a bit. We're going to make sure it's feathered out though, because we don't want it to be too obvious. So we're going to increase more exposure on her face. Oof, nothing too crazy like that though. So maybe about a 0.8. 0.8 is good. And we're going to just a bit more clarity. Ooh. Okay. And it kind of gives us that little glow. We can decrease contrast just a bit. So it gives her this little glow around her, but that's very much preference and, you know, more creative side. So yeah, so now that we have the subject and the background masked out, we're going to go ahead and go into step 4. But before step 4, we want to go ahead and go back to the regular adjustments. Forgot to do one thing. And we're going to go ahead and turn down the overall clarity of this as well, because we want it to be very, very ethereal. Cool. All right, so now step 4 is that's where we're going to go ahead and get into Photoshop and everything. So I'll see y'all there. All right, you guys, welcome to step 4. We're going to bring the magic in with some blurs and some gradient maps in Photoshop. So with our foundation set in Lightroom, it's time to go ahead and do some Photoshopping, just for the finishing touches. It'll take the image like to a whole different level. So firstly, before you even want to start on doing any edits on Photoshop, you want to go ahead and press Command J just to duplicate your layer and make sure that you're not being really destructive towards your main image. So you don't have to do, rework and everything like that. So first thing we're going to do for this layer 1 is do a Gaussian blur to it. It's just to give that background the soft and dreamy look. I'm just going to do a little Gaussian blur. The trick is to not overdo it, but sometimes it's really hard. So we just have to make a gentle separation of the subject in the background. So let's go ahead and do that. So go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. And we're going to go ahead and let's see what we want to do this. We really want to make it very, very blurry. Like I said, I'm going to try not to overdo it, so I'm going to do 30. So press OK. And we're going to go ahead and go to the blending option, and we're going to go ahead and go to Soft Light. Soft Light creates this very nice glow to it. Or we might just do screen. Yes, screen is a lot better for this. So yeah, you can either do screen or soft light. It just depends on you. So with screen, I want to decrease the opacity because we can see it's just a bit too much. So we're going to go ahead and go to 70, 60. Let's go to 60. And to keep more like details in her face, I kind of want to just keep those details there. So I'm going to go ahead and mask this and get my brush tool. Just press B and make sure you're on the black color selector. And you can decrease the opacity for this. I'm gonna say about 40. And we're just gonna go ahead and do over her face. Just a bit, just tap it. You don't have to do too much because we don't want it to stand out too much. It's a little weird if it does that. So yeah, this is Gaussian blur with a mask on it, just to keep her face more detailed than the rest of the photo. Next, I'm gonna go ahead and do a gradient map to overlay some of the soft colors. I'm thinking the gradient that moves from like cool to like a deep blue, or at a bottom worn golden hue type of deal. It's going to add like a really ethereal feel, but also guides us through the image. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to go ahead and go to the filter, gradient map. Already it's set to black and white, but we're going to go ahead and change this. We're going to go to this is all up to you. This is all preference. So we're going to go ahead and see what we want. So before we do that, though, we're going to go ahead and put this to soft light. You can either do screen or soft light, but I'm going to do soft light because it looks a lot better. But here we go. So let's see what we want. So let's try some blues. So the blues, I like the ones down here a lot more. So let's see. That looks really cool. Looks really cool. And just to make sure that we're not going crazy, let's go ahead and put our opacity down just a bit though already. So let's say 50. Let's do 60 for now. And go back into the gradient maps. So that's blues, purples. Let's see. Let's look at the purples. That's really nice. Purple 23 is really nice. We actually might come back to this because this is really beautiful. Same with purples 09. All right, so purples we might go for this one. Pinks, I'm not really looking for those. Grays, you can do grays or cloud as well. Let's see here. This looks really nice. That looks really nice too. But we're not gonna do that. Pastels though. Pastels are really useful for gradient mapping and making that ethereal look. See? Yeah. That's really dope. But honestly, I'm really feeling the purple 23. It's really bringing out everything. So yeah. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. The opacity is already 60. Now that's honestly the gist of it. But before that, we're gonna go ahead and do some final touches. That's gonna be step five. All right, step five is gonna be final touches. We're almost there, so let's go ahead and get some final tweaks just to make this image stand out some more. Um, so we see in the back that we have people in the background. This is a really this is a really simple fix. Um, I just select the remove tool. It says mode. I put it to always use generative AI only because this background is a little darker, and if you use uh, never use, it's just gonna look a little messy. So we're gonna go ahead and use generative AI. We're gonna go around the subjects, go around them. Boom. We wait for perfection. All right, and now we see that the uh, people are gone. It looks a lot better. Yes, we can go ahead and do the same thing with this back here, this vehicle. If you want to, let's go ahead and do it though. Cool. Yeah, no one's gonna zoom in. So there is some uh marks from using this, but no one's really looking in that far. I promise you, no one's looking that hard. But yeah, that's really it. So wrapping it up, this is really how you turn a good photo into a stunning ethereal portrait using, Lightroom and Photoshop. The key is just to start with a solid base, refine your masks, and then just let your creativity flow with any final touches that you may want to do. So if y'all found this tutorial helpful, don't forget to hit that button, the like button and the subscribe button, and just smash that bell so you don't miss any future tips, tricks, or tutorials. So I thank y'all for watching, and I will catch y'all on the next one. Keep creating, y'all. Bye-bye.